All right. Welcome back to another episode of Sip and Talk with Miss Londa. Today I have a great guest joining me today. We have Paul Currer. So without further ado, let's welcome him to the stage. Hi,
Howdy,
how are
howdy. Thank you, Londa. And you said
you?
my name right. Nobody ever pronounces my last name correctly.
Oh, okay. Glad to hear that. All right. All right. So Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Okay, I'm originally from Connecticut, but I've lived all over the planet.
Are you still with us? Did you freeze?
In California, in a community out of my ethical code, just as a reality for the children of color. Um, let's see, I'm married. I have a very ugly dog, but a very beautiful wife. Um, yeah, so I've had some very interesting social interactions with former students.
All right. Okay. And so you were a teacher and you're retired now. How long were you a teacher and how long have you been retired?
I have taught for 34 years, and I'm retired for 10 years now. But my fingers in the pie. Every once in a while, I go over to California State University, Monterey Bay, and I give a talk on how to survive your first year of teaching, and I substitute in a couple of nearby towns. Um, yeah, so 27 years in Castroville, which was the hood. Very tough, very, very tough. Fifth grade mostly.
Okay. All right. And so now I want to get into the case with James Egan Holmes, the guy who's responsible for the 2012 incident at the Aurora, Colorado Theater.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
sad.
let's get into that.
Shoot, ask away.
Okay, so now I know that he injured 70 victims and unalived 12, correct?
Yeah, he shot 70 people and he killed 12 unfortunate, wonderful human beings.
Okay. Just I should have told you before we started certain words we can't use, so you will hear me saying things like unalive or pow
Okay,
pow. Yeah.
okay, fine.
Okay. All right. And
Thank you, thank you. That's interesting. Thank you.
you're welcome. And so, tell me, how did it come about that you had to testify?
All right, so shockingly, this boy was my fifth grade student in the 1995 through 1996 school year. And what what I and everybody else found so shocking was that he was a wonderful kid when he was 10 years old. Like there was no darkness. I could easily say I probably had 30 to 32 kids that year. He was easily one of the most popular students in the class, stunningly brilliant. I referred to him as my Renaissance kid because he was really well balanced in all his academic areas. Uh, just socially really adept at dealing with other kids. Um, a computer wizard in those days. We had to when you programmed a computer, you had to line edit. It was really difficult, and he knew how to do it, and he did it for me, and I didn't know how. He's the first kid ever to beat me in a race. I used to race the kids in physical education class, and if they beat me, they got a pizza party, and that sucker beat me. First kid ever, you know. Um, so it's quite shocking. And mom was a nurse, and dad was a scientist, and they were like they had nothing in their closet. You know, it's really shocking to the community that happened. You know.
Okay. All right. And so he was given 12 life sentences. He also received an extra 3,318 years for the attempted unalivings and the rigging of his apartment. I did read that he pled not guilty, but he was going with the temporary insanity.
Correct.
So did they take that into consideration?
Oh yeah. So it was very interesting. So I live in California, and they being prosecution and defense were looking for people to testify. So prosecution contacted me. They sent out two investigators and they interviewed me. Excuse me, and they wanted to know, like, did he do strange drawings? Did he threaten people? I said no, completely well balanced. And then defense sent out two people, and they wanted me to testify on his behalf. And so their thing was, I don't know how to say this for you. What did I say? You corrected a word that I said before.
Unaliven or
Okay, so they prosecution wanted to give him, sorry to say it, the death penalty, and defense didn't believe in that. So I testified on his behalf. I said I'll do it, but I'm testifying when that kid was my student as a 10-year-old. I don't know anything about him now. So he was given a life sentence for each of the people that he made unalive. That's why he had 12 consecutive sentences. He was also, I believe, fined $1 short of $1 million.
okay. All right.
And I have to say, when I saw him, he wasn't the same human being. He wasn't there. Yeah. My understanding is that some males, disproportionately males more than females, between the ages of 19 and 26 can have psychotic episodes. And some of that is due to genetics, and some of it is that they're genetically predisposed and then something triggers it, or drug usage. And I don't know if any of that was for him. If I'm not a doctor, but I would think probably the psychotic episode.
Okay.
But who knows, right? I mean, I'm not a doctor.
Right. And so did it ever come out at trial what led him to do this?
The defense, like you said, pled reason of insanity. So each side tries to build a case. So the prosecution will point exactly to the horrible things that he did in great detail, and then defense tries to make him out to be human. And that's what they told me. They said your job is to make the defendant human, so he doesn't get the death penalty. So I didn't know what to do, and they kept on calling him Mr. Egan, Mr. Egan, Mr. Egan. And I said, it's really hard for me to hear that because he was Jimmy to me. And the prosecution, they wanted to have that expunged. They didn't like that. And defense later said, you were worth every penny it cost us to get you here, to interview you here, to pay for your flight, to pay for the hotel when you said that. And
Think you froze again.
well, a human being I know did this, so that's my part of it.
Okay. All right. And then so you also spent some time visiting a 14-year-old who has been convicted and given a life sentence for 9 attempted unalivings. Was he also your student?
Oh yeah. That was I love that kid. Real tiny, 10 years old. Lots of difficulties. Never met his father, although supposedly the father lived right in the hood in Salinas, California. My wife used to teach a latchkey program in the morning, and that was for children that, for whatever reason, didn't have somebody home in the morning or in the afternoon. So the kids would wear a key around their neck, and so we call that latchkey. And so she had that boy in our. Can I say his first name?
Sure.
All right, his real name is Augie. And she said that little boy, when he came into class, he brought joy into the class and put a smile on everybody's face. And that's how it was for me to Loananda. And I taught all my fifth graders chess, and when he was 14, he joined a gang, the Norteños, and somebody shot at him, and they missed him. And he knew who it was because the town he lived in is tiny, population 5,000. So he and another buddy decided they would burn the house down where these gang members lived, and so there were 9 people in the house. And although everyone escaped alive, he received an attempted murder charge for each person in the home. And so he was one of the first youthful people to be charged in the state of California as an adult. And at that time, when you're 14, a life sentence meant until you were 26. So he was in until he was 26, although he was all over the place. He was sent to Delano. He spent some really hard time when he was 16. They sent him to Corcoran prison. He was in isolation for 7 years. And he was out for, in a week, he would get to go out in the yard for 2 hours. And basically, he was in a cage. Really terrible. And finally, he was transferred to Salinas Valley State Prison, where I visited him once or twice a month at Salinas Valley State Prison, level 4 maximum security. It was mind-blowing. I've never done anything like that. He was in chains. He had chains around his ankles. He had chains around his waist. He had chains from his ankles to his waist. He was in the window. And so he was in a little tiny cell. There's a phone on his side, a phone on my side. We got 45 minutes and we would talk, and every single time that we interacted, it was recorded. It was listened to by the COs, the correction officers, and they wondered if I was a gang member, I'm passing information or anything like that. But we played one game of chess through the mail that was almost for 2 years. So he'd send one letter and one move. And he said chess helped him a really lot in prison, especially when he was in isolation. And when he was in Corcoran, they put him on a cell block that had Charles Manson, the mass murderer, and also Sirhan Sirhan, who assassinated Robert Kennedy. And he played chess with both of those guys. And he said that Sirhan Sirhan cheated, and he figured Charles Manson wasn't interested. He let him win. But I finally beat him, as I should. I'm the teacher. But it was almost 3 years for one chess game.
Okay. And so I take it he's been released?
He's been released, Nanda, but he's in and out a lot. I don't know if you know anybody on probation. It's hard to stay out. Probation can show up at any time, and if you have something like a poster for a football team, that can be considered gang colors or gang association. If you go to a home and there's alcohol in it, you can be rearrested. I mean, so you could be visiting somebody and they could have a beer in the fridge. You go back to jail. It's any kind of an infraction. If you're caught speeding in a car, you go back to jail. It's tough. It's real tough. But to be honest, sometimes he worked hard to get back in. He did some domestic abuse and drugs, weapons, but I still love him. He was a good kid when he was 10. But when I saw him in prison, he had Chinese tattoos down to the neck, Fu Manchu mustache, no hair. If you saw him on the street, you might think tough guy, but still had a heart of gold and just grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. Mom had drug problems. He was arrested frequently. It's tough. It's tough. My heart goes out to the kids with incarcerated parents. Oh my God. It's tough. It's real tough. He never finished high school. Doesn't have a GED even. What can those kids? What can those people do? It's tough. It's horrible.
Yeah. And so did you like kind of mentor a lot of the students that you work with that you may have thought may have been troubled or had problems? Did you kind of like, take it beyond just being their teacher and kind of like try to help them?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like I yeah, I gave up all my lunches, and the kids would come in. Kids could come in at lunchtime. We'd play chess. I gave my phone number to all my students, and I didn't even say parents anymore. I say guardians, because so many of them did not have parents. They would live with grandparents. God bless grandparents. God bless grandparents. Some teachers had the kids living with them. None, no, I didn't have any live with me, but like our principal said, you should not be giving your phone number to the kids and the families. And I said, if they need it, they got it. In 27 years that I taught there, no child ever abused the phone. They would call up and say, "Hey, Mr. Carr, what was the homework? What page was the math? I don't get number 4." The parents or a guardian would call and say, "Hey, my kid's being a pain, and you know what? Any suggestions?" What else? Weekends, every once in a while, I'd see somebody, but I always made sure my wife would go with me, and I'd see at least 3 or 4 kids. Because you don't want any trouble, and
Yeah.
and or I would bring my daughter. She, you know, so
Okay.
and still every once in a while, I'll get a call from somebody, and they'll say, "Hey, so and so just went to jail or prison. Um, can you give me some advice? Can you go see them?" And yeah, it's really sad. It's really sad. Um, but there's success stories too, and that's wonderful as well.
Okay.
So,
All right. So since you've retired, what is it that you do now? I know you mentioned the podcast. What are some of the other things that you have going on?
yeah, so I do a podcast called Teacher's Tales, Tales. I have like I told you, I got a really ugly dog, and she's a bull terrier. She's got 2 black eyes. So every morning I walk her at 9:15. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, I play pickleball. I play chess with former students. We have dinner and we play chess. Usually I beat them. That's a good thing. I'm a writer, so I'm published all over the place. Newsweek published me about 2 months ago. Los Angeles Times likes my stories. So I submit a lot to them. New York Post, Miami Herald. So I write stories, short stories. Many of them are about my kids, or about chess, or about prison. Um, my wife is Korean, so we have a mixed race marriage. I write about that. Our daughter is mixed race, so that has some interesting things occur now and then. Um, Let me see what else. I like to travel. Go to New Zealand when I can. Cheap flight, sit in coach. Yeah, that's. If my
Okay.
wife was, she's in the other room. If she was here, she'd list all the other things that I do. I do photography. Uh, I'm pretty social for an old guy. I've got a lot of friends. I maintain contacts.
Okay.
Email all the time. Like I reached out to you, and stuff
Yeah.
happens.
Right. Yeah. By the way, did you mention a documentary, or maybe that was somebody else?
I did not, but if you can YouTube me, and they YouTube me having a court case for Jimmy Holmes. It's you can YouTube. He's Jimmy to me. So there I am. If you Google my name, I'm all over the place for the articles that I've written.
Yeah, I
Chicken
saw.
soup and
I saw the articles last night when I googled your name.
well,
So yeah,
thank you,
that's
thank you,
interesting. All
thank
right.
you.
Okay. So, what would you like to tell the viewers? Would you like to let them know where they can view your podcast? And
You are the best. Yes.
thank you.
So my podcast is I just read the stories that I've had published. So they're vetted, meaning they're not garbage. So I've been paid for most of these stories, and I just read them, and they're 3 minutes to 22 minutes. Most of them are heartwarming. Some of them make you cry. Some of them make you laugh. Um, what else did you ask?
Would you like to let the viewers know where they can find your podcast?
Yeah, it's Teacher Tales. Ales, play on the word tails, and it's got a picture of my dog. She's cute as cute can be. So, um, yeah, I'll as soon as we're done, I'll think of everything else. You know how that is, right? So,
Okay. All right. All right. Well, Paul, I would like to thank you for joining and sharing your story with us. I had a great time talking with you, and um, have a good night.
me too. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.